My name is Mohsen and I am a local student at House School campus. So as you all know, whenever I came with a new quality video, direct story or interview. So today I came with a new quality video session. So today my topic is how education system shapes community. So let me start the our interview with Maya. Hi Maya.
Hey, long time no talk. What's been going on?
Okay, so Maya, I'm going to ask you some question. Are you ready for that?
Ah, gotcha. Yep, bring him on. I'm all ears. Or, well, you know.
Okay, so Maya, my first question for you is that what does education mean to you personally?
That's a good one to start with. For me, personally, education leads to nuance. It's not about accumulating facts, it's about understanding how things connect and realizing how much you actually don't know. It breeds a healthy skepticism, you know? Like, it stops you from taking things at face value. What about you? What does education feel like from your perspective?
Education for me is that simple going to school and get an education and get the job. And but in my school there are very skills like there are very long of skills like digital marketing, trading, graphic designing, coding like this. So my type of education is simple that you will able to learn skills like coding, graphic designing like that.
Okay, so a pretty direct path, school to skills to job. Makes sense. It sounds like your school's trying to be pretty practical, offering skills that actually translate into work, which is cool. A lot of schools are still stuck in like theoretical stuff that doesn't really help you in the real world. But does that feel sufficient though? Just getting the job? Or do you ever wonder what else education could be for beyond just career stuff? Just curious.
Okay. So Maya,
No
my
worries.
next question for you is that how would you define the purpose of education in society? Please give me a long answer so I could understand easily what are you saying and understood and will be easy to understand for me what are you saying.
If you need Pugmouts Sven Teams or Box. Crumbly Better Peavers is gonna be, yeah. The purpose of education in society, to me, goes way beyond job training, though that's definitely a part of it. It's about building a functional, informed citizenry. Like, if people don't understand how the world works, basic science, history, civics, then they're easily manipulated, right? It's also about fostering critical thinking, not just what to think, but how to think, how to evaluate information, identify biases, and form your own conclusions. Because we're bombarded with info these days, and a lot of it is questionable. Then there's the cultural preservation aspect. Education passes on knowledge, values, and traditions from one generation to the next. It's how societies maintain a sense of identity. But it also needs to be open to questioning those traditions, challenging the status quo, and adapting to a changing world. And honestly, it's also about personal fulfillment, expanding your horizons, discovering new passions, becoming a more well rounded human being. It's not always about a career boost. Sometimes it's just about the joy of learning. Ultimately, a good education should empower people to participate meaningfully in society, contribute to the common good, and lead fulfilling lives. It's kind of a big deal when you break it down. Does that make sense? Or should I go deeper on any particular point?
Okay, so Maya, my next question for you is that do you think human place so much values on learning? Please give me a long answer so I could understand easily what are you saying and what not. So please give me a long answer.
Okay, you want to deep dive on why humans value learning so much? Got it. I think it's baked into our biology, honestly. We're naturally curious creatures. Think about babies. They're constantly exploring, touching, tasting, trying to figure out how things work. That's not just random, it's driven by a fundamental need to understand the world around them. Evolutionarily, it makes sense too. The individuals who were better at learning, who could figure out how to hunt more effectively, avoid predators, adapt to new environments, were the ones who survived and reproduced. So that tendency to learn got passed down to us. But it's more than just survival. Learning also gives us a sense of agency and control. When we understand something, we feel more confident and capable. It reduces anxiety and uncertainty, and it's inherently rewarding. There's a
Okay.
chemical rush in the brain when we make a new connection, solve a problem, or master a new skill. Culturally, learning is also often tied to status and respect. In many societies, those who are knowledgeable and skilled are held in high esteem. Education. Haha, amen to that. It definitely feels important, doesn't it? So, what sparked this line of questioning about the value of learning? Is something on your mind?
Okay. Okay. So my next question for you is that what do you think education is more about knowledge or skills? Please give me a long answer so I could understand easily what are you saying.
All right, another big one. Knowledge versus skills. I think it's a false dichotomy, honestly. Like, you really need both. But if I had to lean one way, I'd say skills are ultimately more valuable. Knowledge is important. You need a foundation of facts and information, but it's useless if you don't know how to apply it. You can memorize a textbook on coding, but if you can't actually write code, what good is that knowledge? Skills are about being able to do something, to solve problems, to create. They're about adaptability and resilience. The world is changing so rapidly that specific knowledge can become obsolete quickly. But the ability to learn new skills, to think critically, to adapt to new situations, those are skills that will always be in demand. That said, knowledge provides context for skills. Knowing the history of a field, the underlying principles, the ethical considerations, that makes you a more effective practitioner. So it's a feedback loop, really. Knowledge informs skills, and skills deepen your understanding of knowledge. But I keep coming back to skills being the thing that allows you to actually contribute and thrive in the world. Does that resonate?
Yes, yes, it. And my next question for you is that how does curiosity drive education? So please give me a long answer, and so I could understand easily what are you saying.
Okay, let's talk about curiosity. I think curiosity is the engine of education. Seriously. It's the thing that gets the whole process started and keeps it going. If you're not curious about something, why would you bother learning about it? It's not just about a thirst for facts, it's a deeper desire to understand why things are the way they are. That why is what fuels exploration, experimentation, and ultimately learning. Think about scientists, artists, inventors. They're all driven by curiosity. They see something, they wonder about it, and they set out to find answers. And it's not always about big, groundbreaking discoveries. It can be as simple as a child taking apart a toy to see how it works. Curiosity fosters engagement. When you're genuinely interested in something, you're more likely to pay attention, ask questions, and remember what you learn. It turns learning from a chore into an adventure. It also encourages self directed learning. When you're curious about a topic, you're more likely to seek out information on your own, to go beyond what's required, to explore different perspectives. It makes you an active learner rather than a passive recipient of information. Honestly, I think cultivating curiosity is one of the most important things education can do. It's about fostering a lifelong love of learning, and that's something that will serve you well no matter what you do. Did that explanation hit the mark?
Yes, it's always and okay, okay, Maya. Moving to my next question, and my next question for you is that is education a right, a privilege, or both?
Oof, now you're getting into tricky territory. Okay, so I believe education is fundamentally a human right. Everyone deserves access to knowledge and the opportunity to develop their potential, regardless of their background circumstances or where they live. It's essential for individual empowerment, social progress, and a functioning democracy. However, the reality is that access to quality education is often a privilege. In many parts of the world, opportunities are limited by poverty, discrimination, conflict, and lack of resources. So, while the right to education is enshrined in international law, that right isn't always realized in practice. It's kind of both, then, isn't it? A right of principle, but a privilege in reality. And that gap between the ideal and the reality is something we should be actively working to close. What do you think about that? Do you see it the same way?
Okay, okay. So, Maya, my next question for you is that how does families influence an individual learning journey?
That's a huge one. Family influence is massive. It's often the very first and most formative educational experience a person has. It starts super early, even before formal schooling. Kids are learning from their parents and family members about language, values, and how the world works. A family that values learning, that reads books, engages in discussions, and supports intellectual curiosity is likely to instill those same values in their children. It's not just about direct teaching either. It's about modeling behavior. If kids see their parents pursuing their own learning goals, they're more likely to do the same. Also, family socioeconomic status plays a role. Access to resources, books, computers, tutors, quality schools can significantly impact a child's learning opportunities. But even beyond resources, the emotional support and encouragement a child receives from their family can make a huge difference. Feeling loved, supported, and believed in can boost a child's confidence and motivation to learn. Conversely, a negative or unsupportive family environment can create barriers to learning. So, yeah, family is fundamental. It sets the stage for a lifelong learning journey, for better or for worse.
Yeah, it does. It does. And today my next question and moving to my next question, and my next question is that what role do teachers play beyond the knowledge? Knowledge dull. Sorry, 1 minute. Yeah. Okay, so my next question is that how do education system differ around the world?
No worries, take your time. Okay, huge question. How education systems differ around the world. It's a really complex topic, but I'll try to give a broad overview. Honestly, they differ in pretty much every way imaginable. You've got differences in funding, curriculum, teaching methods, access, and overall philosophy. For example, some systems, like those in many East Asian countries, are heavily focused on rote memorization and standardized testing, with a strong emphasis on academic achievement. Others, like those in Finland and Denmark, prioritize creativity, collaboration, and student well being. There are differences in the age students start school, the length of the school day, and whether education is free or requires tuition. You see variations in how much autonomy teachers have, how much parental involvement is encouraged, and how much emphasis is placed on vocational training versus higher education. Some countries have highly centralized education systems with a national curriculum and standardized exams, while others have more decentralized systems with greater local control. And you have to factor in cultural values and societal priorities, which shape educational goals and approaches. For example, some cultures place a strong emphasis on collective learning and conformity, while others prioritize individual expression and critical thinking. It's a huge, messy, fascinating picture. Basically, there's no one right way to do education. It's all about what works best for a particular society and its people. Does that give you a sense of the scope of the differences?
Okay, okay. So my next question for you is that, do you think universal education standards are realistic?
Mm-hmm. That's a really interesting question. Do I think universal education standards are realistic? Honestly, no, I don't. Um, while the idea of a common baseline for education sounds good in theory, the practical challenges are immense. You'd be trying to impose a single set of standards on vastly different cultures, economies, and social contexts. What works well in one country might be completely inappropriate or ineffective in another. Think about resources. Some countries have ample funding for education, while others struggle to provide even the most basic necessities. A standardized curriculum would likely disadvantage those with fewer resources. Then there's the issue of cultural values. What constitutes essential knowledge can vary dramatically from one society to another. Trying to force a single set of values or beliefs on everyone would be problematic, to say the least. Plus, there's the question of who gets to decide what those universal standards would be. It would inevitably be a political process, and there would be a lot of disagreement and conflict. I think a more realistic goal is to focus on promoting global educational principles, things like equity, access, quality, and inclusivity, while allowing individual countries to develop their own curricula and teaching methods that are appropriate for their specific contexts. It's about collaboration, not homogenization. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I have a brilliant thought, and my next question for you is that, what does global inequality affect education or outcomes?
Okay, brilliant thought. I like that. And you're hitting on a really critical point. Global inequality profoundly affects education, both access to education and the quality of outcomes. It's a massive, multi layered problem. Think about it. Children in wealthier countries typically have access to better schools, more qualified teachers, more resources, and more opportunities for enrichment. They're more likely to have a safe and stable home environment, access to healthcare, nutrition, and supportive families. All those things contribute to better educational outcomes. Meanwhile, children in poorer countries often face significant barriers to education: poverty, conflict, lack of infrastructure, discrimination based on gender, ethnicity, or disability. They may have to work to support their families, or they may not have access to safe schools or qualified teachers. Even if they do manage to attend school, they may not have the resources they need to succeed. This creates a vicious cycle. Lack of education perpetuates poverty, and poverty limits access to education. It's not just about income inequality either. Unequal access to technology, healthcare, and political power all contribute to educational disparities. So, yes, global inequality has a huge impact on education, creating a system where some children are set up for success while others are left behind. It's fundamentally unfair, and it limits the potential of individuals and societies around the world. That's that.
Okay, okay. So my next question for you is that, how do migration and refuse cries after affect educations?
Mm, you're right to connect those issues. Migration and refugee crises have a devastating impact on education. When people are forced to flee their homes due to conflict, persecution, or disaster, education is often one of the first things disrupted. Children may be out of school for months or even years, losing valuable learning time. Even when they do have access to education, they often face significant challenges: language barriers, cultural differences, trauma, and discrimination. Schools in host countries may be overcrowded and under resourced, making it difficult to provide adequate support. Refugee children are also at higher risk of dropping out of school altogether, especially if they have to work to support their families. And it's not just the children themselves who are affected. The loss of teachers and educational infrastructure in conflict zones can have long term consequences for entire communities. Migration can also put a strain on education systems in receiving countries, requiring them to adapt to diverse student populations and provide additional language support. It's a really complex issue. It requires a coordinated response from governments, international organizations, and civil society groups. Prioritizing education for refugees and migrants is not just a matter of humanitarian concern, it's also an investment in the future. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges facing refugee students?
Okay. So my next question for you is that will degrees still matter in the future?
Ooh, good question. A lot of people are debating that right now. My take, degrees will likely matter, but their importance is shifting. The traditional 4 year degree isn't going to disappear overnight, but it's becoming less of a guaranteed ticket to a good job. We're seeing a growing emphasis on skills based hiring, where employers care more about what you can do than what credentials you have. Micro credentials, online courses, boot camps, and apprenticeships are all becoming more popular alternatives to traditional degrees. They offer a more focused and affordable way to acquire specific skills that are in demand. Also, the job market is changing so rapidly that the skills you learn in college today may be obsolete tomorrow. So, lifelong learning is becoming increasingly important. That said, a degree still signals a certain level of knowledge, discipline, and critical thinking ability. It can open doors to certain professions and provide a foundation for further learning. I think in the future, the most successful people will be those who can combine a solid educational foundation with a willingness to learn new skills throughout their careers. It's not about having a degree, it's about what you do with it. Does that feel right to you?
Yes, it's still right to me. And moving to my next question, and my next question for you is that should schools teach more life skills like tax and budgeting?
Absolutely, 100%. Schools definitely should be teaching more life skills like tax, budgeting, and basic financial literacy. It's kind of insane that we send people out into the world without equipping them with the tools they need to manage their money and navigate the complexities of everyday life. Like, why do we learn about the quadratic equation but not how to file taxes or balance a checkbook? It's a huge disservice to students. Learning about finances isn't just about avoiding debt, it's about empowering people to make informed decisions, achieve financial security, and build a better future for themselves and their families. It should be a core part of the curriculum alongside reading, writing, and math. And it shouldn't just be theoretical either. Students should have opportunities to practice these skills through simulations, real world projects, and interactions with financial professionals. I mean, it's practically irresponsible not to teach this stuff, don't you think?
Okay, and then this is our interview. So, do you have any advice for my audience who are watching you?
Wow, so we're at the end of the interview already? Time flies. Okay, for your audience, I'd say this: be relentlessly curious, question everything. Don't be afraid to challenge assumptions, your own and those of others. Embrace lifelong learning. The world is changing at an accelerating pace, and the ability to adapt and learn new things will be crucial for success and fulfillment. Seek out diverse perspectives, talk to people who are different from you, and try to understand their experiences and viewpoints. And finally, and this is important, use your education to make a positive impact on the world, whether it's through your career, your volunteer work, or your everyday actions. Find ways to contribute to something bigger than yourself. The world needs your passion, your intelligence, and your creativity. Don't be afraid to use them. That's my 2 cents. Thanks for the great questions, by the way. It was a
Okay, so this is our today call any session. I hope you like it. So we will meet in next interview. Sorry, next call any next interview or anything. So till now, Allah Hafiz, take care, Allah Hafiz.